like to welcome all the delegates who've turned up today. We've got a good bunch of people, some of who travelled from my region, and it's very pleasing to show support for this. This is the 6th annual Queensland Order of Surgical Mortality Seminar. Each year builds on the success of the previous year, and I'm grateful to be your convener today. Before we start, I'd like to respectfully acknowledge the traditional owners of this land, the Turrbal people, and elders past and present. So as everyone's aware, the theme for today is the elderly surgical patient. I don't pretend to have all the answers in 2016, but what I think you will see today is a spectrum of presentations covering acute emergency presentations versus elective, expected deaths versus unexpected deaths, and a variety of subspecialties, some of which we don't normally cover in these types of symposiums. In that, I'd like to thank all our speakers in advance for making time in their busy schedules to come out today, and I'd also like to particularly thank the QASM staff, without whose support I wouldn't be able to do this job. On that note, I'd like to introduce Dr. John North, who is Chair of QASM. John's an orthopaedic surgeon from the Princess Alexandra Hospital, but he respects Brisbane quite equally, both sides of the river.
And the Sunshine Coast.
And the Sunshine Coast, that's right. So, very good.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Well, thank you all for coming, and thank you, Michael, most of all for being willing to be the convener and doing all the hard work. And Michael's done most of the hard work in getting our program and our speakers together, so thank you very much, sir. No conflict of interest to declare, but I am the clinical director, so I am an employee of the College of Surgeons, so forgive me if you feel as though that's a conflict of interest, but I don't believe it is. I wouldn't be here and I wouldn't be presenting without our amazing team, and QASM has an amazing team, and thank you, Therese is just leaving, the manager, and Sonia and Jenny, Candice, Kirsty are all amazing people. Kirsty's up there on the left. You've met all of them, I think, at the front desk, but I need to thank them, and do thank them personally, but thank them corporately as well for all the work that they put into things like this, but all the work that they put in day by day to make this audit, this registry, a very useful and very worthwhile enterprise. We thought this year we'd call it the Elderly Surgical Patient and Evidence-Based Practice, and perhaps that's partly because we have a few elderly people, not this one. This is one of our younger surgeons, and we do want to thank you for that and for putting it all together. Michael's a general surgeon at the Sunshine Coast and busy up there in many ways, but he's also the President of General Surgeons in Australia, so he has lots of responsibilities. We just thank you for coming. A couple of housekeeping things. Remember, fellows, if you're a fellow, you'll have an automatic CPD update for your being here, so you don't have to put in the 14 steps of paperwork to get your CPD. If there are others here who want a certificate of attendance, please sign the list on the front desk. Kirsty will point you to it, and no evaluations today, or they'll all be sent to you online, but we would like you to just take a little bit of time to fill those up and return them via the email process. So thank you for that. And two, I'd just like to say thank you to our RACS President, Phil Truscott, for coming. Thank you very much for one of the many things in a busy time, and lots of phone calls and lots of presentations. So we thank you very much. Phil and I know one another quite well, and I just thought I'd put this slide in, Phil. You know, being the college president is a bit like sort of shark hunting. Occasionally you get bitten. But, you know, sometimes you have a fun time, and you can see him smiling there with his dearly beloved. We were flying up over, this is Cape Leveque in northwest Western Australia. And the reason for flying up there was not to see wayward surgeons or anything like that, it was actually to look at the sharks. So there's a couple of those for you as well. Not the sort of sharks we usually find at Spring Street, but apart from that, here we are. Thank you very much for coming. And Ian Harris will be coming shortly. He was a fly-in, fly-out person today, but Ian, as you know, has been very involved in the whole evidence-based practice across the nation and indeed across the Tasman as well. ANZ Hip Fracture Registry coming on thanks to Ian. And again, some of you may have already read this volume that he produced and presented to us this year. I see one of the journos put this beside their comments: a surgeon cuts through the evidence. Perhaps that's not perfect, but Ian will talk to us about that later. So, hence, this particular theme and the speakers as presented. And again, thank you to the QASM staff and all the other staff and all the other college people have become heavily involved in the research process. And there's just the publications over the last couple of years. But this is one we looked at. And remember, please, it's your data. It's not my data. It's not Teresa's or the team's data. It's your data. The data's there, okay? Use it if you wish. However you want to use it, I'm not sure. You don't even have to be an FRACS to use it, so feel free if you're not. And publish if you will. We're happy to help in so many ways, and it's not difficult. Even my registrar, who helped me with the total knee on Monday, had a publication in the Journal of Orthopaedics this very week, on neck and femur fractures. So it's there, use it. Don't let it lie there and not mine it. It's a gold mine. We need to use it more effectively. And remember, audit is about learning. It's not about just collecting data and putting it in a box in the corner. It's about learning, and we trust that that will be for you a learning exercise in every way. And this was published in BMJ Open last year, and we thought we'd call it Surgical Care for the Aged, a retrospective cross-sectional study of a national surgical mortality audit, and use the national data. And it sounds very boring, doesn't it? Surgical care for the aged, and we thought, oh no, that's not going to sell. But in fact, BMJ Open did publish it with a few reviewers' comments and a bit of rearrangement. But defining elderly for today's was a bit difficult, and just as defining elderly for our age paper was a bit difficult too. So we put them into these three categories, and I'll just tell you, maybe I'll get you to read the paper, and I'm not going to talk very much about it. But, a lot of data was produced with a lot of hard work, and I'm not going to run you through. It's a silly slide to put up, but if you look quickly down the right-hand side, you'll see there's quite a lot of p-values down there, 0.001. So there was a lot of significance in multiple areas here. Fluid, unplanned ICU admission, different action by the surgeon, post-op complications and things like that. So it's worth knowing that from the data we have seen that there are changes that are happening in the process of surgical care delivery that are worth looking at. And you can see here that if we look at the oldest patient, this is kind of a summary of that previous page, you can see there definitely are changes going on here. And if this is treated in ICU and you happen to fall into this age group over here, I don't think there's too many of us here, you can see it's less likely that ICU will be part of your care process in that surgical delivery. Del and I were talking about the over 90 complex plastic surgery patients today, but it's something that we need to think about because we are getting a lot more of the oldest age group and seeing a lot more in QASM as well. Yep, there are limitations to this, and we understand we don't have all the baseline data, but we're certainly working hard to try and get that. So I want to thank you for coming. I want you to talk to one another. I want you to talk to us, talk to the QASM staff. Try very hard to use that QASM data if you want to. We'll certainly help you as much as we can. We want you to enjoy the day as well. And again, we'd enjoy seeing your feedback on the process. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being part of it. Let's operate with respect. No questions? Do you need any questions? No. It's an introduction, really. But what I'd like to do is introduce our next speaker. And again, thank you, Phil, for coming. Phil's going to look at the professionalism side of the process. And Candice might help us just put up your slides. And thank you again for coming. Look forward to what you have to say.